As night falls and the world quiets, imagine a majestic mountain rising from the mist. Mont Eternel, a place where secrets and magic dwell. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the soothing whispers of this tale guide you. Join young Kai as he embarks on a journey beneath the watchful gaze of a shimmering eagle, discovering a gift that will change his life forever. Now, let us begin. The mountain rose from the mist like the spine of some great slumbering beast. Its peaks, grey and sharp, seemed to slice through the veil of fog that clung to the slopes, as if reluctant to let go of such a secret place. Ancient trees lined the base, their twisted branches reaching up like crooked fingers, while narrow streams whispered secrets as they wound through the shadowed woods. The villagers from nearby dared not approach the mountain, for they knew it was guarded, and those who did approach, lured by tales of treasure or wisdom, never returned to tell of what they found or didn't find at Mont Eternel. Legends told of an eagle with wings that shimmered under moonlight, each feather catching the light in silvery flecks as if dusted by the night sky itself. Some said the eagle had been bound to the mountain for centuries, a creature both flesh and phantom. Others whispered that it was no ordinary bird but a spirit, older than the mountain itself, woven into the fabric of the land to ensure that no mortal eye would glimpse what lay within Mont Eternel's heart. To see the eagle was an omen, a sign that one had ventured too far, strayed too deep into the mountain's grasp. Each night, the eagle's vigil began when the last light faded from the sky. As the sun's final rays disappeared behind the ridge, the eagle emerged from a hidden hollow near the mountain's peak, its wings unfurling in a slow, deliberate motion. It launched itself into the air, gliding over the ridges and valleys below, its keen eyes catching even the slightest movement among the rocks and trees. Beneath its watch, shadows deepened and silence fell like a shroud. No creature dared to stir, for the forest knew its guardian well and feared the quiet power that emanated from those starlit wings. But the eagle did not fly aimlessly. It moved with purpose, tracing paths known only to it, guided by a magic older than time. Mont Eternel held secrets that even the oldest villagers could only guess at. Artifacts buried under roots and rocks, symbols carved in places where no one had walked for centuries, and mysteries that thrummed beneath the soil like a heartbeat. And all of these, the eagle guarded with an unwavering dedication. By day, it would nest among the highest crags, hidden from sight. But by night, it ruled the mountain as a silent, watchful sentinel, ever alert, ever alone. Yet, the eagle's isolation was no ordinary solitude. It was bound by an oath, a bond forged in a time when the mountain had been young and the world was different. The mountain's secrets pulsed within the eagle's own blood. a silent song that only it could hear, that only it could understand. Every feather was a fragment of that song, woven with fragments of ancient magic, and every beat of its wings stirred the air with the echo of that binding spell, warning intruders that Mont Eternel was not a place for mortals. There were nights when the mountain itself seemed to sigh, a low, deep rumble that resonated through stone and soil. On those nights, the eagle would pause in its flight, hovering mid-air, its head cocked as though listening to some distant call. It would tilt its wings and circle the peak, tracing the contours of the mountain with a slow, deliberate grace, as if soothing the mountain's restless heart. The villagers, watching from afar, would hold their breath, wondering if the mountain was waking or if the eagle was simply dancing its nightly dance. Stories of the mountain's secrets traveled far, carried by wandering bards and whispered by traders passing through. They spoke of untold riches, of magical relics that could grant eternal youth, or spells that could bind the elements to one's will. But the villagers, having grown up in the shadow of Mont Eternel, knew better. They knew that the mountain kept its secrets for a reason, and that the eagle's watch was both a protection and a warning. For what lay hidden in those stony slopes was not meant for mortal hands to grasp. And so the eagle kept watch, a figure that blurred between reality and myth, its presence a reminder that not all wonders were meant to be uncovered. The mountain, in its silent grandeur, was both a sanctuary and a prison, bound to its guardian as the guardian was bound to it. And while the world below went on, oblivious to the mountain's mysteries, the eagle continued its silent vigil, wings outstretched against the starlit sky, waiting for the day when its duty would finally be tested. The night lay thick and quiet over Mont Eternel, broken only by the occasional whisper of wind threading through the rocky crevices. In the darkness, the eagle moved like a wraith, gliding silently above the mountain's slopes, its wings trailing threads of silver light, as if each feather held a fragment of stardust. This night was no different from any other, but to the eagle, each pass over the mountain was a sacred ritual, a task bound by an oath so ancient it seemed woven into the fabric of the earth itself. The eagle knew the mountain's every shadow, every hidden path, and every secret buried beneath stone and soil. It was not simply a guardian, but a part of the mountain's essence, bound by a magic that was both gift and curse. Long ago, when the stars shone brighter and the world was new, the mountain had whispered its secrets to the eagle, entrusting it with the knowledge of powers long forgotten by humankind. And though time had turned, wearing away centuries like sand in the wind, the eagle had remained constant, a silent keeper of mysteries. Mont Eternel was no ordinary mountain. It held within it a pulse, a life force that flowed like veins through the rock, connecting every peak, every hollow to a greater power, and at its heart lay the source of that power, an unseen spirit that slept beneath layers of stone and root, waiting, biding its time. The eagle was bound to protect it, to ensure that no hand, mortal or otherwise, would disturb its slumber. For if the spirit ever awoke, the mountain would change, reshaping the world around it with forces untamed, unleashing chaos upon the lands. As the night deepened, the eagle drifted lower, skimming close to the ridges and the cliffside. It listened with senses beyond human comprehension, feeling the hum of the mountain beneath it. A soft, pulsing throb beat within the rock, a rhythm that mirrored its own heart. It was a song known only to the eagle, one that echoed in the very marrow of its bones, guiding it through its endless vigil. The song was a reminder of its sacred duty, a warning of the mountain's power and the importance of its secrecy. But the eagle's task came with a price, a cost that the villagers could only guess at in their fearful tales. The mountain's secrets weighed upon it, tethering it to this lonely task. An unbreakable vow that demanded every ounce of its loyalty and strength. By day, the eagle would retreat to its hidden perch, a shadow among the crags, closing its eyes to the world. But even in its rest, it remained vigilant, its senses attuned to the faintest sound, the slightest disturbance in the mountain's quiet. There were times when the mountain's pulse would quicken, and a strange tension would fill the air, as though the mountain itself was stirring. On these nights, the eagle's flight became more purposeful, its circles tighter, sweeping across the ridges and slopes in rapid arcs. It would perch upon the peak, its sharp gaze scanning the forest below, searching for any sign that the mountain's peace had been broken. And though it saw nothing, it could feel the mountain's power trembling, a dormant strength simmering just beneath the surface, waiting for a signal. Yet despite its solitude, the eagle was never truly alone. The mountain's spirit watched over it, an unseen presence that lingered in the silence, a constant reminder of the bond they shared. The eagle could feel it in the quiet moments, a sense of purpose that ran deeper than any mortal oath. Its very existence was tied to Mont Eternel. And though the mountain's spirit remained unseen, it spoke through the earth and the wind, a silent command that resonated within the eagle's heart. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the eagle's wings began to lose their shimmer, the silvery stardust fading with the retreat of night. It made one last sweep across the mountain, a final reassurance that all was as it should be. Satisfied, it returned to its hidden nest among the rocks, tucking its wings and settling into the shadows. The eagle's task was eternal, bound to the rhythms of night and day, a duty that it would carry until the stars themselves dimmed and the mountain no longer needed a guardian. For now, the mountain slept, and with it, the power within. The eagle closed its eyes, knowing that with each setting sun, it would rise again, ready to guard Mont Eternel's secrets for another night, another century. And as the first morning light cast a golden glow over the forest below, the mountain's heartbeat softened, slipping back into the quiet hum of stone and soil, awaiting the day when its guardian's task would be truly tested. The mountain loomed quietly in the moonlight, its mist-laden slopes glowing faintly, casting a ghostly glow that illuminated the forest below. It was on such a night, when the stars glinted coldly above and the wind carried the scent of winter, that a figure emerged at the base of Mont Eternel, cloaked in a dark mantle, with a golden torch that burned bright against the blackness. The wanderer appeared, his silhouette sharp against the forest shadows. He moved with a purpose, each step careful and deliberate, his gaze fixed upon the distant peaks that towered above him. The eagle sensed the intruder immediately, its keen eyes catching the flicker of golden light through the trees. From its perch high above, it watched, waiting, its sharp talons gripping the stone as his gaze narrowed. There was something peculiar about this visitor. The eagle had seen travelers and fortune seekers before, drawn to Mont Eternel by tales of hidden riches and secrets that only the mountain could reveal. Most had turned back, frightened by the weight of silence or by glimpses of the guardian's shadow circling above. Those who ventured too close had disappeared, lost in the mountain's maze-like paths, never to be seen again. But this wanderer was different. His steps did not falter, and his torchlight flickered with an unnatural steadiness as he moved steadily upward. Around his neck hung a pendant, carved with symbols that the eagle recognized instantly, ancient markings long forgotten by mortal hands. The eagle's gaze sharpened, a flicker of understanding sparking within its ageless eyes. This wanderer was no ordinary seeker. He had come for something beyond the mountain's rumored treasures. He had come seeking the mountain's heart, the very essence that pulsed beneath stone and soil. As the wanderer approached the mountain's base, the eagle launched itself into the sky, its wings glinting like silver blades under the moonlight. It circled above him, a silent silhouette against the stars, assessing, watching. The wanderer looked up, his gaze meeting the eagle's with an unyielding resolve. He did not flinch, did not turn away, and the eagle saw in his eyes a reflection of its own purpose, a dedication as old as the mountain itself, a willingness to sacrifice. The wanderer whispered a greeting, his voice barely audible against the quiet night. He raised his torch, the flame casting strange shadows on his face. With slow, careful steps, he began his ascent, moving closer and closer to the mountain's secrets. The eagle swooped low, its wings slicing through the air as a warning, a final chance to turn back. But the wanderer stood firm, bowing his head in a gesture of respect. as if acknowledging the guardian's right to test his resolve. With a flutter of wings, the eagle landed before him, its piercing gaze locking onto his. In the silence, the two figures stood, one mortal, one bound by ancient magic, both poised at the threshold of something larger than themselves. The wanderer knelt, holding out the pendant as an offering, as though it could bridge the chasm between guardian and intruder. The eagle's eyes flickered with something close to recognition. It extended a wing, brushing it lightly over the pendant, and as it did, a shiver ran through the air. The ancient symbols glowed faintly, and a tremor rippled through the mountain's stone. A subtle shift that only those attuned to its pulse could feel. The eagle sensed the mountain's power stirring, a silent awakening in response to the pendant's magic. This wanderer, it understood, was no trespasser but a seeker bound by fate to the mountain, chosen by powers beyond comprehension to unlock a knowledge that had slumbered for centuries. With a single graceful motion, the eagle unfurled its wings and took flight, guiding the wanderer up the hidden paths that twisted and wound through the mountain's steep slopes. The torchlight flickered as they moved deeper into the mountain's heart, where shadows grew thick and the air grew colder, charged with an energy that made the skin prickle and the senses heighten. The wanderer followed, his footsteps reverent, his eyes wide as he glimpsed the etchings along the walls, runes and symbols carved by hands long vanished, the meanings lost to all but the eagle and the mountain's spirit. Higher and higher they climbed until the air itself felt sacred, thick with the weight of secrets waiting to be revealed. The eagle led him to a ledge overlooking the valley, where the stars seemed closer, brighter, as though they too were guardians bearing witness to this moment. Here, in the thin, cold air, the eagle settled, watching as the wanderer knelt, his face lifted to the sky in silent prayer. For a brief moment, time stilled. The mountain's heartbeat pulsed faintly, an echo that reverberated through stone and air, a signal that its spirit had heard the wanderer's call. And as the night deepened, the eagle watched over him, knowing that this was only the beginning. The wanderer had been granted entry, but the true test was yet to come. A test that would demand more than resolve, more than courage. It would demand the wanderer's very soul. The air on the mountain's summit was thin, each breath tinged with an otherworldly chill that seemed to seep into the bones. The eagle watched as the wanderer knelt before it, his face a mask of quiet reverence, eyes fixed upon the shimmering guardian that had led him to this ancient threshold. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the distant murmur of the wind through the rocks, a hollow and haunting sound that spoke of ages past and forgotten oaths. The eagle stepped forward, each talon clicking against the stone with a deliberate precision, its gaze penetrating, sharp as steel. Then, as if drawn from the deepest recesses of memory, it spoke. Its voice was soft, yet it filled the air with a presence that seemed to echo beyond the summit, reaching down into the very roots of the mountain. "Why do you come here, wanderer?" the eagle asked, each word carrying the weight of centuries. "What is it you seek within Mont Eternel's heart?" The wanderer lifted his eyes to the eagle, his voice steady, yet shadowed with humility. "I come not for myself, but for my people. A blight has befallen our land, a sickness that drains the earth, turning life to ash. I seek the mountain's wisdom, the knowledge hidden within its depths, so that I might save those who suffer." The eagle regarded him, silent and unblinking, its gaze measuring the sincerity in the wanderer's words. It understood the power the wanderer sought. It was a force both ancient and potent, buried within the mountain since the beginning of time, bound by spells woven with starlight and shadows. Such knowledge, if unleashed, could shift rivers, command the skies, even alter the course of destiny itself. But every revelation demanded a sacrifice. "To unlock the mountain's secrets," the eagle replied, "is to bind yourself to it eternally. Once you have glimpsed the spirit within, you will no longer belong to the world below. You will become part of this mountain, tethered by a magic older than the earth itself. Are you willing to pay such a price?" The wanderer closed his eyes, a shadow passing over his face as he absorbed the gravity of the eagle's words. He could feel the mountain's quiet pulse beneath him, a rhythm that seemed to mirror his own heartbeat, drawing him in with an almost magnetic force. Yet he remained resolute, knowing that to turn back now would mean abandoning those who had pinned their hopes upon him. With a slow, deliberate movement, he extended his hands, palms open to the eagle. "I accept the price," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the wind. "If my soul must be bound to this mountain, then so be it. Let it be the bridge by which my people are saved." The eagle's eyes glinted, a flash of admiration mingling with something darker, a recognition of the sacrifice this stranger was willing to make. With a single powerful beat of its wings, it summoned a gust of wind that swept over the mountain, stirring the air with an ethereal chill. Light began to gather at the edges of the eagle's wings, a soft, shimmering glow that cast eerie shadows over the rocks. "Then, look into the mountain's heart," the eagle commanded, its voice resonating like a distant thunder. "Know that once you behold its secrets, your fate will no longer be your own." The wanderer took a deep breath, steadying himself as the eagle stepped aside, revealing a narrow crevice in the rock. Peering into the darkness, he saw a faint light flickering far below, a glow that pulsed in time with the mountain's heartbeat, ancient and powerful. With each step he took into the crevice, he felt the weight of ages pressing upon him, as if he were descending not into rock, but into the mountain's very soul. At the heart of the cavern, he found it, a crystal, suspended in midair, radiating a soft, otherworldly light that filled the chamber with a luminous warmth. Its surface was etched with symbols that shifted and shimmered, languages long forgotten, carrying wisdom that no mortal mind could fully comprehend. The wanderer felt himself drawn to it, his hand reaching out, fingers hovering just a breath away. But as he touched the crystal, a surge of knowledge flooded his mind, images and words that spun through his thoughts like a whirlwind, revealing the mysteries of life and death, creation and decay. He saw his homeland, his people, their faces worn with suffering, and he saw how to save them, how to heal the blight and restore life to their lands. The knowledge was his, yet it burned with an intensity that seared into his soul, binding him to the mountain's essence. A tremor ran through him as he felt his spirit entwine with the mountain, each heartbeat echoing within the stone itself, a fusion that would hold him there forever. He was no longer just a man. He was a part of Mont Eternel, a guardian reborn, the embodiment of the mountain's ancient magic. The eagle watched in silence, its gaze somber yet knowing. The wanderer had received his answer, but he was now bound, no longer free to return to his life below. The price had been paid, the revelation had been granted, and the mountain secret would remain, protected by a new soul who understood its power, its weight, its eternal cost. And as the dawn began to break, the wanderer stood, his eyes reflecting the same stardust glow as the eagle's wings, knowing he had become one with the mountain, a guardian of its hidden heart. As the first light of dawn crept over Mont Eternel, painting the peaks in shades of pale gold and rose, the mountain seemed to exhale, a soft sigh that rippled through the air and stirred the trees far below. The eagle watched from its perch as the wanderer, now bound to the mountain's essence, rose from the shadows of the cavern, his form altered, his gaze no longer that of a mere mortal. His eyes glowed faintly, touched by the same ethereal light that shimmered in the eagle's feathers. He had become something more, a soul transformed by the mountain's power, shaped by the secrets he had dared to seek. The eagle, now relieved of its ancient duty, felt a deep weariness settle into its bones. It had guarded the mountain since time immemorial, its wings bearing the weight of endless nights spent in watchful silence. Yet now, as it looked upon the wanderer, its successor, it knew its task was complete. The mountain had chosen its new guardian, a spirit intertwined with its ancient magic, someone willing to carry forth the silent vigil, bound by duty and sacrifice. The eagle spread its wings, feeling the last traces of starlit magic course through its feathers, a sensation both familiar and fading. It took to the air, soaring higher and higher above Mont Eternel, each beat of its wings a farewell to the peaks and valleys it had known so well. Below, the wanderer, now the mountain's eternal sentinel, watched in silence, his gaze lifted to the sky as he witnessed the eagle's final flight. Though his transformation had bound him to Mont Eternel, he felt a sense of reverence and awe for the creature that had shown him the path. The being that had, through silent wisdom, entrusted him with a destiny beyond mortality. The eagle's silhouette rose against the dawn, a dark figure outlined in the soft light of morning. Higher and higher it climbed, leaving behind the slopes and the shadows of Mont Eternel, until it was but a speck against the vastness of the sky. And as it rose, something extraordinary began to happen. The mountain itself seemed to resonate, a deep, rumbling sound that vibrated through the stone, a final farewell from the spirit within, honoring the guardian who had watched over it for countless ages. In its ascent, the eagle felt a strange lightness, a release from the binds of earth and stone. It soared above the clouds, its wings catching the light in soft, shimmering arcs. For the first time in eons, it was free of duty, of the weight of secrets, free to drift where the winds would carry it. Yet even in its freedom, it felt a twinge of longing, a pull towards the mountain it had guarded with such fierce devotion. But it knew in the core of its being that the mountain was now safe in new hands, held by one who understood its power and its price. Far below, the villagers watched in awe as the eagle rose into the heavens, a figure both familiar and otherworldly, a sight that would be spoken of in whispers for generations. They saw it as an omen, a sign of change, though they did not know of the wanderer or the secrets hidden within Mont Eternel. All they saw was a creature of myth, taking its leave, leaving behind a world forever altered by its silent, watchful presence. And so, the eagle flew, a silent figure gliding over forests and rivers, tracing paths it had long forgotten in the depths of its ancient memory. It flew until the landscape blurred below it, until it was no longer bound by time or place. Its wings grew fainter, its body lighter, until, like a breath on the wind, it faded, a spark of stardust drifting into the vastness of the morning sky. The eagle was gone, yet its essence lingered, woven into the air, into the stories that would live on in Mont Eternel's shadow. The wanderer, now alone, felt the weight of his transformation settle fully upon him. His heart beat in time with the mountain's rhythm, each pulse a reminder of his eternal bond. He walked the ledge, feeling the mountain's spirit stir within him, a silent guidance that would lead him through his new vigil. Though he would never leave Mont Eternel, he was at peace, knowing he had fulfilled his purpose, even if it meant solitude, even if it meant a life spent in silence. As the sun rose, casting its golden light over the mountain's ridges, the wanderer took his place upon the peak, his form merging with the shadows, a figure both mortal and eternal, bound by duty and love to the mountain's secrets. He was the new guardian, the keeper of Mont Eternal's heart, a silent watcher who would carry forth the legacy of the eagle who had once protected these slopes. And so the mountain remained a place of mystery and magic, guarded by a soul who understood the weight of its secrets. Mont Eternel's spirit pulsed quietly, knowing it was safe, its secrets held by one who had come not for himself but for others. And in the echoes of the wind, in the silence of the mountain, the memory of the eagle lingered. A quiet presence watching over the new guardian as he began his endless vigil. A sentinel bound by fate, a soul entwined with the mountain's heart, forever.